TDS has a lot of event towers. The strength of them varies a lot, but there is no event tower I would consider broken. So, I am going to change it. I am going to try and make every single event tower S tier at least, with one single change. Now, obviously I can just say something like increase damage on all levels by 1000, so on top of that, the change must be as little as possible. And, on top of that, I will also try to make the change as creative as possible and only increases stats if I don't know what else to do. And also, this video is heavily inspired by this one, link in description. With that out of the way, let's go! Starting off with Gladiator. I was thinking for a pretty long time of what to give it considering how much he fell off, but I think I cooked with this one. Remember the recent Archer rework, where it can have multiple arrows with different effects? Give this to Gladiator as well. So now, apart from normal attacks, Gladiator can now stun enemies or straight up explode them, essentially not only giving him infinite pierce back, but also heavily buffing his DPS. Surely, Gladiator will still be bad early game, but once you max him out, which is easy since he is very cheap, you can get essentially a better Sledger due to how fast he attacks. Or, if you switch to explosions, you get an insane crowd controller. And another ability he already has which increases his fire rate will make this addition even more busted. So yeah, I truly believe this is enough to make him one of, if not the best stalling and crowd control tower. Next up we have Commando, and this one is simpler. I want his missiles to be able to stun bosses. I remind you that his missiles stun enemies for 2 seconds, so this would literally make bosses not being able to move if you spam missiles from all 8 commandos, which is his placement limit. Don't think I need to explain why he would become the best tower in the game. Next up is Slasher, and this tower has a lot of potential, but he is limited by single target a lot. So let's fix that. Now, he has an infinite pierce like Gladiator did before his nerf. Considering Slasher's single target DPS is above 200, this would for sure make him busted against crowds. And all of this is not even including bleed. Next we have Frost Blaster, and again, it's simple. Freeze no longer has cooldown. Normally, he has 1 second freeze cooldown, so he can't permastal anything. But now, everything that is not immune to freeze will turn into ice until it dies. Pretty broken if you ask me. Next we have Archer, and I want all of its arrows to have infinite pierce. This would already make him better with flame and shock arrows, but explosive arrows is what will make him broken. You see, his explosive arrows have no pierce as a balancing measure. This is because even a pierce of 2 will make these arrows too good for its cost. And now imagine if pierce is infinite. He will definitely break the game. Next we have Swarmer, and I want his B stacking to return. It was removed cause it kinda broke the game. I have a video on it with full details, so it would be not dumb to assume that he would break the game again. Next is Toxic Gunner, and it's plain and simple. He can now slow down bosses. His maximum slowdown is 20%, which may sound not good, but it gives you 20% more time to kill the boss, which is actually extremely helpful. This won't make him completely broken, but surely S tier, right? Next up we have Sledger, and he is already arguably S tier, so I won't go completely crazy with the buff. I want his placement limit removed. This means you can spam more of them, leading to more freeze and more damage and more crowd control. I think this will push him into S or even S+ tier. Next we have Executioner, and this one is really fun. Revert his bug fix which made solo solar eclipse night for possible. I think you can understand why this will break the game. Next is Elf Camp, and you damn well know what I'm gonna do. Remove its placement limit. This image speaks for itself. Next tower is Jester, and this one is really simple as well. Confusion bombs now confuse bosses. This essentially reverts a nerf that he received a long time ago which made him S tier. So, he will become S tier once again. Alternatively, they can also remove his confusion cooldown which is currently 8 seconds. So all non-boss enemies will just walk backwards all the time even if there is a single Jester with confusion bombs. This will make him not just S tier, but SSS+ tier. Next up is Cryomancer, and now if it freezes an enemy, the enemy will stay frozen as long as Cryomancer keeps attacking it. So essentially a permafreeze of pretty much all non-immune enemies if you have multiple Cryomancers placed down. Sounds amazing to me. Next tower we have is Hallow Punk, and the change needs to be op as the tower itself is really mid. And my change is make its knockback 5 times as strong. So when spammed, no enemy will be able to get past it unless it's a boss or flying enemy. I'm fairly sure it will make Hallow Punk at least S tier. Next up we have Harvester. Now, the Harvester's change is also funny one. Make its vines stay permanently on the map, so the moment it spawn them, They just never disappear and stay there until the end of the game. Sooner or later, you will be able to fill the map completely with vines, meaning that enemies will permanently have 60 DPS and 30% slowdown, which is basically a better toxic gunner. This will for sure make Harvester overpowered. Next up we have Snowballer, and it's going to be difficult to make it broken considering it's literally the worst tower in the game. But I will try. Now it freezes enemies permanently, so when the enemy gets frozen by this kid, it will never be able to move even if Snowballer leaves it alone. It's Freezer Lunar Overture bug all over again. I think this is enough to turn the worst TDS tower into the best. Next we have Elementalist, and I have literally no fucking idea of what to do with it, so I'll just copy and paste Harvester buff. Ice turret now stays permanently, so with this buff, you can build like 30 turrets in one game with one Elementalist in long game mode like hardcore. It goes without saying that turrets will freeze and kill everything, making this tower broken. Lastly, we have Firework Technician, and it's also an easy one. The firework chance is now 100% on all levels, so every single bullet produced by towers will release a firework. This would be especially overpowered with towers such as Minigunner due to fast fire rate leading to lots of fireworks. This would cook not only enemies, but also your device. And that's all the buffs. I can end the video right here, but unfortunately, it's not 8 minutes yet and I cannot lose out on mid-roll ads. So, as a bonus, here is my tier list on all changed towers and how busted they would be in comparison to each other. I don't think Swarmer will be S tier to be honest, because if you look at tier list from 2021 time when Swarmer had B stacking, you will see that people rated it as a tier. In contrast, broken towers basically give you a free win if you use them. But there is that. Thanks for watching the video. Like and subscribe if you liked it, and if you didn't you wouldn't watch until this part anyway. And I see you next time. Now enjoy an exceptionally long outro. Goodbye.